Hey, what's going on, guys? It's a second update in Today Patch Notes version 1.04.01, and this one is an all-platform hotfix that goes after a bunch of annoying issues players have been running into across the game. On the official notice, Pearl Abyss says the patch is already available on Steam for PC, while the other platform builds are still rolling out. So if you are on console or one of the other storefronts, you may still be waiting for it to finish moving through the pipeline. What stands out right away is how this update focuses on quality of life fixes that actually matter during normal play. On controllers, the button used to rename pets and horses has been moved from R3RS to L3LS, which sounds like a tiny change until you remember how often people get tripped up by awkward button placement. They also fixed the issue where certain owned mounts were not showing up in the quick slot, which meant some players simply could not summon the mount they already had. And for PlayStation and Xbox, the change preset option now appears the same way it does on PC, which is exactly the kind of consistency that makes the whole interface feel a lot cleaner. There are also a few fixes here that sound weird at first, but they clearly address real gameplay problems. Pets were apparently eating wood or ore gathered with a logging axe or pickaxe, which is the kind of bug that can quietly mess with your inventory and leave you wondering where your materials went. Furniture placement in housing mode got a fix for keyboard and mouse players too, because there were cases where you just could not place certain items at all. On top of that, they handled crashes that could happen while dying or changing customization, and that is one of those problems that can hit right when someone is trying to finish a character setup or make a cosmetic change. Movement and combat got some attention as well. Sprint stamina was recovering when players sheathed and unsheathed certain weapons while running, which is not how that system should behave, so that has been corrected. Damiane also got a fix where blinding flash was getting cancelled inside safe zones, and Kliff's focused aerial roll had its flight speed restored because it had been slower than intended. For boss fights, Oongka and Damiane both had an issue where ranged weapons could not target anything except bosses during those encounters, so that has been addressed too. These are the kinds of fixes that matter because they change how combat actually feels in moment-to-moment play, rather than just patching something that looks broken on the surface. One of the more important fixes in this update is the one tied to Abyss artifacts. The notice says the game could return you to the title screen when you tried to observe a skill you had already obtained by consuming an Abyss artifact while your inventory was full. That is a pretty frustrating edge case, and Pearl Abyss added a specific note for players who got caught by it. If you could not recover the Abyss artifact in that situation, you can use the reset all function to get it back. That is the sort of detail people absolutely need to hear, because otherwise they may think the item is permanently lost. There are also fixes aimed at visual feedback and story combat. Attacking NPCs that could not actually be attacked while wearing a mask was still showing hit effects, and that has been cleaned up. The team also fixed a crash that could happen during combat with a certain boss when using a customized character, and the notice identifies that boss as Umbra. That last part matters because it tells players the crash was not random, but tied to a very specific fight and character setup. And beyond the fixes themselves, the patch note also points players toward a separate known issues notice, which means the update is improving the game without pretending everything is perfect yet. That matters because it sets the expectation that some problems are still being tracked while the studio keeps pushing out hotfixes like this one. Overall, this update feels like a cleanup pass aimed at stability, interface, consistency, combat reliability, and making sure players are not losing time to avoidable bugs. If you have been waiting for a patch that smooths out the little frustrations, this is very much that kind of update.